welcome back. I am sitting here watching it snow in South Mississippi. The day I'm filming this is when we've got all the snow. It has been snowing since before 7 o'clock this morning, and it is now, I don't even know what time it is. It's still snowing, and there's no chance of it stopping until later this afternoon. We are loving it. Well, some of us. Some of us are not. I'm loving it. James could care less for it. But we're going to be doing our devotional today, but before I start our devotional, I told you a couple of videos back that I would be sharing a testimony very soon. Well, today is that day. So our new year started off normal. James took quite a bit of time off. He had a lot of time saved up, so he was able to take off time for Christmas and New Year's and everything. And then he goes back to work. Can't remember the date, the 7th, I think it was, 7th or 8th. Anyway, he goes back to work. I'm back into my routine, kind of getting back to normal. I'm cleaning and everything, and I hear the door open, and he comes in, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, what are you doing home? He said, I got laid off. I was like, what? He's like, yep, got laid off. So there we were. He had done used all of his vacation time, well, a lot of it. He still had some. And out of the blue, got laid off. No warning signs, nothing. Come to find out, they're closing that office where he was at. They're relocating some of the staff, and they laid off the majority of the staff, people that have been there 20 years, And I was like, okay. Now, the old Donna would have went straight into panic mode. But this Donna that has been growing in the Lord, He's been teaching me so much. I've been talking to y'all about faith and trusting God and His time. He works all things for our good. We may not understand what's going on. All that I've been talking to y'all about, I had to then start practicing. Practice what I preach, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay. So I went into my laundry room to finish doing what I was doing when he walked in. And that's when I began to pray. And I was like, Lord, I trust you. I don't understand why this is happening at this particular time. Don't understand your plans, but I know that I've trust you. We've been here before, and not one time did we go without. You did not leave us begging for bread. Bills were paid. We had food to eat. And I trust you. And I know we're going to come out on the good end of this, whatever it is. I know that you're going to work it for our good. And all through the day, as the devil would try to, he will try his best to give you that little bit of doubt. I would just rebuke it, and I would just thank God. I would thank God, and I would tell him I'm excited to see what you're going to do. I'm excited to see how you're going to fix this. I'm excited to see where we're going to be. Well, James has a lot of contacts, and he went to calling people, and before we knew it, he was lined up for several job interviews. And they were only 20 minutes further away from the house, same hours, better pay, better benefits, all these jobs that he was interviewing for. Well, it came down to 2 that he was leaning toward. And I was like, okay. And I just told the Lord, I said, your will be done in this. Let us know which one is the right one, because we want to be in the will of God, because if you are in the will of God, you're covered. And so it was down to 2. They were 3 minutes apart in time. Everything was the same. It was just 2 different companies. And we were praying. James was kind of like, didn't know which way to go. He liked them both. Well, the Lord completely shut the door to one of them. It was like they wanted him. They just did not have, at that time, have the position for him. It would be several months before it would be available. So the Lord closed that door, and he starts his new job on Monday. And I have peace. And when I tell you, I had peace through all of this. I handled this like I've never handled any other trial in my life, and I learned so much by doing that. I did not give in to panic. I did not give in to fear. I did not give in to the unknown. I know my God, my Father, was in control, and I trusted him completely. And when the devil would try He tried. I would not allow him into my head. I would not allow him to trick me, to get me off course, even for a second. I stayed on guard. I trusted God, and I'm excited for this next step. He's going to be making more money, better benefits. Nothing has really changed except it's just a little 20-minute longer commute, but it's a straight commute. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do, because I have no doubt we are truly in the will of God. So I give all praise and glory to God. And I've learned so much in this. And I was even talking to my mama, and I was like, I've had complete peace through this. She said, you really have. You really have. You have. Because if anybody's going to know, I would be calling her stressing and crying and whining and, talking to my mama. But the whole time, it's just been peace. And I truly believe it's because I made up my mind at the start of it. I was not going to panic. It's like I told James we would talk about it. And I was like, well, God wasn't caught off guard as we were when you walked in. He knew it was coming. He wasn't surprised like we are. He's in control. He's already in our tomorrows. And so that is my testimony. If you're going through something, I hope this blesses you and encourages you. And do not let the devil get into your head. That is the biggest thing I learned. And I would sing, I would remind myself, I've been here before. We've been here before, Lord. I thanked him for the income we did have coming in, like we have done without nothing. We've had everything. James ended up, having a lot more vacation time he was able to get. We've not been in any financial bind. And all of that's because of God. We trust him completely, and I thank him for that. We've had to be careful, as you do, but we've not went without, and I just thank God for that. So hold your head up. Do not let the devil get into your head. Remind God you're trusting him. Remind him that he's working all things for your good. You don't understand it, but you don't have to understand it. He does. You may be caught off guard, but he's not caught off guard. And that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. And I just cannot wait to share the testimony. I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to be one of those that we were going to have results pretty quickly. And so I can share that with y'all. And thank you for those of you who prayed for me and not even realizing what you're praying for. God heard, answered. And I'm so excited to be able to share that with you. Now, on for our devotion today. We're going to be reading from our devotional, Turning Points with God by David Jeremiah. It's going to be found on page 62. The title of it is When All Else Fails. Our scripture comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 5. And I will be reading that from my King James Bible. And it says, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. I had no idea, but that is exactly right. And it just goes with my testimony. It's amazing how God does that. Who hasn't had this thought flash on Christmas Eve or the night before a child's birthday? When all else fails, read directions. It was bad enough when figuring things out involved mostly nuts and bolts and a couple simple tools. Now we have endless levels of digital commands to figure out when it comes to electronic gadgets. It seems the more complicated things get, the more determined we become to figure them out by ourselves. And that holds true for our spiritual lives as well. The more difficult our circumstances, the more determined we are to figure things out on our own without having to call up God. What we fail to realize is that such times are part of our training that God allows us to get to the end of our ability just so we'll learn to call upon him. That was certainly part of the original disciples' training. Like the time they fished all night with no luck until they listened to Jesus' advice and saw their boat filled with fish. If you are nearing the end of your rope, maybe it's time to call on the Lord. There is great victory in realizing the limits of your own ability and the limitlessness of His. That's a tongue twister. One of the best ways to get back on your feet is to first get on your knees. That is a quote by Unknown. And y'all, I had no idea what this devotion was going to be about when I started reading it, when I started this out and sharing my testimony. But this, I mean, it just goes with what I just talked about. Before, I would have tried to figured it all out on my own. I would have been freaking out trying to figure everything out, not just in this trial, but in other trials. And God has taught me, you don't have to freak out. You don't have to stress yourself out. You don't have to lose sleep. You don't have to worry yourself to a stomach ulcer. You do not have to worry about this. Call on me. Let me give you that peace. Let me calm all those fears and work it all out. You just follow my direction. You pray my will. You follow my lead. You follow my will. You get in tune with me, and I'm going to handle it for you. I'm going to fix it for you. I'm going to work it all out. And when He does it, y'all, it is better than we could ever imagine. It is better than we could ever comprehend. I see that now, looking back, just since James and I have been married and the way God has moved in our lives, every step, everything we've been through, when we've gotten through it, we've been on the better end of it. It's worked out for our good. And I guess that's one of the reasons I was able to just completely be at peace, is knowing that He's never put us in a situation where we've come in on the losing end of things. He's never taken us to a point to where the former was better than the latter. It's always been worked out for our good. And knowing that and realizing that when this happened, I was able to draw from that. So maybe if you're in something and you're caught up in it and you're in a tizzy, stop. Get in your place where you pray, where you talk to God. Get into a quiet place where you can hear His voice and talk to Him, and let Him bring back to remembrance different times in your life where you've been in situations that looked very bleak, that looked like there was no way you could handle it. But He showed up on the scene and He fixed it and He handled it. Get into that place and let Him remind you and show you, I've got you. I'm handling it, but you got to let go of it. And that's the biggest thing, is I had to let go of it. I couldn't hold on to it. I seen a reel the other day on Instagram where this preacher was talking, and he was like, okay, Lord, I give it to you. And he's walking away and he's still holding on to it. He's like, it's all yours, Lord. But he's still holding on to it. He's still holding on to the pulpit. He's like, I'm giving it to you, God. You take care of it. And he's still holding on to it. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. But I learned through this trial how giving it to Him completely, not holding on to it, just giving it to Him. I've learned so much. I'm so thankful for this time in our life. I'm so thankful for this trial that we've went through, because if it's done nothing else, it has truly shown me I need to let go. He's not caught off. I may be caught off guard. He's not caught off guard. When He gets through with it, ever how long it is, ever how long that season is, you're going to be okay. He's got you. He's got you during it. He's got you before it, and He's going to have you after it. It's amazing. He's an amazing God. And this just encourages me, because I've told y'all, there's something I've been praying for a very long time. I've been praying for a long time about a situation. And this has just let me know God's got it. I need to let it go. I've not let it go. I know that. I've not let it go. I've prayed and kind of held on to it a little bit, but I've got to let it go so God can do what He's got to do. when all else fails, Lord, when you've tried everything you can do, just give it to him and let him do it. And that's the beauty of all of this, is I let it go at the beginning, and I didn't have to have this long, huge season of learning. I just give it to God to start with. And that's where I want to get with other things that are coming into my life. I want to learn from this one and know that, remember Donna? Remember how easy it was because you let go and let God? Yeah. Wow. I mean, I pretty much said everything that would go with this at the beginning and had no idea, but hopefully you got something from it. I pray God blesses you. Thank you so much for being here today. I love each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.